Hello, YouTube. This video is going to be on a multitude of takes. If anyone cares, probably not. But anyways, I just want to point out that my videos are about Riley, and this is a correct way of explaining my videos and explaining them. My videos are about, as you should know by now, liberty, fraternity, and equality, or really equality and ultimately equality as well. And I'm against inequality in what I see or consider to be relics of a feudalistic, unequal past. And that is what these videos are about. They're not about hate speech, even really anything particularly sexual, unless it calls for the situation. And of course, I have pop-ups. Never gets easier. But I just want to point that out. I've said this a million times. My videos are humanist in nature. They're about humanism. They're liberal. And I talk about liberal humanism. But I also noticed when making this video, they want to know, are my topics for children? Obviously, they're not. I mean, that's obvious. And I put no, but I also said that they want it to I'm about to use some very on-child-like friendly language here if these pop-ups don't stop. But they want to know, are my videos for children? No. But do I regulate them to only people over 18? No. Because what is there in my videos to regulate? And don't parents have some responsibility to their children or to watch their children? It's like Marilyn Manson. You know, don't your parents ever watch you? I mean, or like that song, what was that name? It was a song when he was still with the Spooky Kid. They called it the Spooky Kids. I can't think of Misery Machine. At the end, it's like, go home to your parents. Don't they ever watch you? This isn't some kind of communist daycare center. But at the same time, I think children should be able to watch this. I don't think there's anything particularly bad in this. It's not hate speech. There's certainly no nudity, and I don't think anyone would want to see that in one of my videos. Given what I'm doing, I don't think you want to see me in that shape, and neither do I. So the point that I'm making is, I don't understand that. But moving on to something, I will come back to this later, but moving on to something else for now. I was on a video about regulation, John Stolso talking about regulation, and I was arguing why the economy should be regulated. And I also think we're seeing very clearly why tech companies probably should be regulated, because they become even more dictatorial than if they were regulated, because there's no clear guidelines, and it really just becomes a game of biases and, you know, who they like and who they don't like. But anyways, if you support performing surgery, I basically told this guy, because he was arguing that I said that in some cases, circumcision surgery is done on children without anesthesia. And this guy wasn't arguing against that, but he was arguing that it's okay not that they don't, and it's better that they don't, in fact. And he was trying to say that it shouldn't be regulated, that they have to use some form of pain medicine if they're going to do that. And I wasn't even arguing necessarily that they shouldn't allow that procedure. I was simply arguing that you should at least use pain medication during the procedure. And this is a controversial thing that I cover, by the way, using pain medication before performing a surgery on an infant. I think you should use anesthesia or whatever on an infant. I think you should be able to provide them with pain relief. But he was arguing that they shouldn't. He said something, and I basically told him, if you support performing surgeries on children, basically, because he was calling it violent force by the state to enforce my beliefs. And I said, if you support performing or being able to perform surgeries on an infant without any kind of pain medication, not even so much as a local, and I'm talking both general and local anesthesia here, or pain relief, then you should not, or any kind of anesthesia, then you should not be able to talk about violent force, whether it be state enforced violent force or not. And that is one of the issues I have with libertarians, is some of them, not all of them, and I've had a lot of libertarians agree with me on this, but some of them say that, well, it's the states and it's the parents and it's this and that. And I would say that, look, you're supporting violence against someone without pain relief, performing a surgery on a baby without pain relief. I don't think you can talk about violent force. And it was a big conversation that went on, and eventually he accused me of trolling. And I'm trying to speed this up because I have other shit to talk about, but Anyways, where is it? Basically, he accused me of trolling, and at some point, I said basically, I forget where I said. Anyways, I said something to the effect of children can die from shock at some point, and later on, I said you're accusing me of trolling, but you're the one trying to say that you shouldn't have to use pain medication during a circumcision of a child, or any circumcision. And it's like I don't even think people who support this would agree with that. And I also said I'm not even sure that's true. So the guy was essentially, I'm pretty sure this was some idiot trolling me actually. But the point is, that's really fucked up, and that's one reason I don't support libertarianism and why I am a liberal. I do think the government should have some ability and some requirement to regulate certain things for the betterment of us all, because I don't think that the big government and parents or anyone else should just be able to abuse authority. And that's what I'm about, is questioning authority, and that's what I'm going to talk more about here and go into. And by the way, there was another user on this same thread by John Stossel. And I'm not dissing John Stossel, by the way. This is John Stossel. I have nothing against John Stossel. He had the illegal everything, and he defended marijuana use. He defended sex worker rights and the rights for sex workers. I have no problem with him. But what I do have a problem with is some of the people on that site, because there was even someone saying we should get a lynch mob to go after these government bureaucrats. And this is that guy saying that. This is a guy saying that. And this is the same fucking group of people that one of them this suggested to me, a libertarian suggested to me, I'm supporting violent force because I think parents, or not parents even, but the medical staff at a hospital, if they're going to, fuck me. Basically, I think a medical staff, I think medical staff at a hospital, if you're going to do this surgery, should have to or be required rather to perform the surgery with pain medication, and they should use some form of pain relief. And that is all I said, pretty much. But he's then going to suggest getting a lynch mob together to use violent force to shut down government bureaucrats, because they don't want you to be able to build a fucking building, a skyrise tower, possibly, that is so cheaply made to save costs for some big company, that you might be walking in that fucking skyrise and the damn thing might break and you might fall through. And that's, by the way, that's one of the biggest ways. China, for example, has taken over much of our infrastructure in America and things like that. And we do so much business with China is because they have almost no regulations, and they allow essentially children to be working and everything else in China, and lots of other countries do. So if you're walking in a building made by China, you really never know if that fucking floor is going to collapse on you, because we're not regulating them, because they're unregulated, and we deregulate ourselves to do business with them. But anyways, the point is, he's suggesting getting a lynch mob to go after these carpetbaggers, these government bureaucrats. At the same damn time, he's accusing me of supporting government violence because I don't think you should be able to mutilate a kid without even using pain medication. That's pretty fucked up. And I did eventually say, seeing as that's the way it is, maybe we should make this illegal until someone's 18. And I do believe that. I don't think you should even be able to do this until they're 18. But if you're going to, they should at least use some kind of fucking pain medicine. And like I said, I still don't even know if that is the norm or close to the norm. I know it happens, but I don't even think, even in this country, I don't think they can do it I don't think they're doing it that often without pain medication. But if they are, that's one more fucking reason not to do this. And I think not only is that one more reason not to do this, I also think that knowing that is one more reason to question the establishment and question authority before you allow that to be done. So, where am I at? Mika Brzezinski, and she was a daughter, actually, by the way, of someone that I think he was a secretary of state at one point, maybe under two different presidents. And I've heard good and bad things about him, and I'm not really sure what to think. But he was a government official at one point, and she's the daughter of him, and she has a lot of people probably don't even know this. It's like I said, Anderson Cooper of CIA and everything else. And I'm sure a lot of people know that by now. But the point is, she's I'm not even talking about that. The point is, she's the host of a show called The Morning Show with Joe, Morning Joe. And her husband is Joe Scarborough. Again, I have a little bit of a speech issue. The point is, they're a fucking host on a fucking show that comes on in the morning on MSNBC. And she's essentially, really you just need to look up Secular Talk. He talks about this. I think it's something called Morning Show Host gives the worst few overview or the worst critique of an election or something. Anyways, it's on there. You probably know it, but that's one reason I don't talk a lot, because I agree with most of what he said, and I have to watch a video really to know, and I don't like doing that because I like to give you my opinions. But basically, if you really want a good video of him pretty much ripping MSNBC and ripping Morning Joe, and I'm talking about Russell Brand, there's an episode of Russell Brand actually also, where he totally destroys and just makes an ass out of all of MSNBC. So you can find that, and that's very funny. But they're going after, they want them to run a centrist candidate, very similar to how they did the last time. And they're even saying Biden is looking good. And they're essentially attacking two more qualified candidates. And while I'm not the biggest fan of her, I think Elizabeth Warren, for example, is a more qualified candidate. And they're also attacking Bernie Sanders. And they're saying that, well, Trump has right-wing views, so that cancels out. They cancel each other out. The left and the right does. Except they don't. They're very different. Trump, for all the good things I can say about him, Bernie Sanders is very anti-war as far as we know, and he's straight up anti-war. And I'm not, and now if he becomes president and he changes, I can't help that. I'm not saying that, but certainly now he's anti-war. Fuck me. All right. Anyways, certainly for now, right now, he's anti-war. Trump is not as anti-war as you think he is, and a lot of those troops, like I said before, he's just moving them to different areas in the Middle East. He's moving some to Afghanistan and some to northern Iraq. And in northern Iraq, they're going to do a lot of the same shit they're already doing in Syria, as well as in Iraq. So he's not that anti-war. Bernie's obviously pro-transgender people in the military. Fuck. Bernie is also obviously pro-transgender people in the military. He's pro-trans rights in general. Trump took transgender people out of the military. Bernie is very liberal on social issues, and he's very progressive on social issues. Trump can be, in some cases, very conservative on social issues. Bernie is a agnostic, or maybe even an atheist, and he's a secularist, and he believes in secular government. And while I give Trump credit for not talking as much about religion on the campaign trail, he does still meet often with evangelicals. Trump does not. And much of this is very similar to what Secular Talk said in his video, and I'm not trying to copy the guy, and that's why I don't like going off videos, because I often agree with them. And that's one reason I still use InfoWars a lot. But the point is, they're very different. And by the way, Trump did do one thing right, and that was, unlike Romney and McCain and Bush and Reagan especially, and even Nixon and Ford before them, he was smart enough to drop the religious bullshit, because he saw a lot of people just weren't buying religion, and they had more serious shit to look at and more serious issues. And they didn't care if the gays got married or something like that. So he, knowing that, he dropped religion. It's very much the same with Democrats. If they would just drop this feminist shit, and I'm talking not all of it, but at least some of it, and some of the really hardcore radical feminist stuff, you would probably get elected more, because to Democrats, feminism is to Democrats really what conservative religious idiots is to the Republicans, and it raised both of them down, and they're both fucking up the system, by the way. But anyways, there's that. But the point is, she's also talking, like he said, with these people in the upper class, but also it's also a lot of that CIA. This is what we want you to tell people, and we want them to think, because Bernie Sanders doesn't meet our interest, just like Trump doesn't meet our interest. So we don't want Bernie Sanders to win. You want to promote a centrist. Let's promote Joe Biden, who she said was doing very good. And like I said before, I have grown to like Joe Biden, but the guy is not doing that good. He's got the thing going on about smelling people. People are still talking about that. He's telling these cockamamie stories like someone who's senile. It's a fucking bumbling mess. It's a mess. It's worse than this video is probably. But the point is, he was doing all of that, and it's very important to also note that while he was doing all of that, I also want to talk about, while I'm making this video, that while he's doing all of that, that he was also while I'm making a video, what was I talking about in this video? What was I talking about in this video? Anyways, Joe Biden is doing all of that. So Biden is not really the guy you want to go to for an election. So there's that. Anyways, also I want to talk about how the internet is a basic human right, and I think it's a human right. The internet is a human right, just like Just like I think that food and water is a human right, and really it should be declared that, because really people's ability to have any free speech or any ability to have an opinion, and it's important for social activists and for the spread of ideals. And if you are an individual, especially in what is supposed to be a democratic society that wants to get your ideals out there and have a hearing for your ideals so that people can consider that when voting, for example, I think that it is very important that, for example, and just give me a fucking minute. I think it is very important, for example, that people I think it's very important that you have the internet, and that's very important. And people in the third world, people in places like Syria, communist dictatorships, people in countries that are too poor in parts of Africa and places to have internet, in order to have their ideas heard and to talk about the real issues that those people have, as well as poor people in this country and different people, the internet should be considered a basic human right. And even for someone like an Alex Jones, regardless of what you think about the man, because he's a conspiracy theorist, and they're cracking down on that, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. And regardless of what I think about him, and especially what he has become more like over the years, I think he has every right to free speech, and we all do. Now, here's the next part of this video. Let's see. YouTube has rolled out new terms of service. YouTube has rolled out new terms of service, and if what I'm understanding about them is correct, then it's fascist bullshit. And part of the steps, the big steps to demonetize, fuck me. All right. Anyway, one of the big steps to demonetize certain users over a course of time, one of the big steps they've made to do that, they demonetized users, and now they're going to try to shut down people that are not monetarily contributing, or not being paid, or are not monetarily using this channel for money. And that's why they took steps to demonetize different people that were being paid. Like, I don't agree with all of them, but someone like an Alex Jones, who got kicked off actually already, and that he was a start. You know, the first they came for this person, then they come for that person. It's like in Nazi Germany or wherever else. Damn. Fuck me. But anyways, first they came for Jones, and you know that's what's happening. And people like what's his name, Steven Crowder, or whatever that guy's name is, they kicked him off. But the point is, internet is a basic human right. And like I said, my video is about fraternity, equality, liberty, equality, free speech, and individuality, and human rights. So if you consider that to be against your terms of service, then you're against human rights, because that's what I talk about, is humanism. And I talk about my opinion and how I think we can help people. And I have done nothing negative. And if that's not monetarily contributing or positive in this country, then I guess people love hate, and you're pretty much supporting hate. So that's the ultimate hate speech. I mean, that's really what you're doing. But I just leave that there because I don't have much time to make a video here. And Tulsi Gabbard also got very mad and said she's not a Russian agent. And also on the Jimmy Dore show, and him and Secular Talk are also people that could be negatively affected by this. So this is also really a war on liberalism also, or it could be very negative for liberals. But, you know, Tulsi questioned Saudi involvement in 9/11, and I have done that. I have discussed it. I didn't say I agreed with it or didn't, but I said it's something that I can understand discussing, and I've talked about it. I talk about issues, current issues of the day. And Tulsi Gabbard did that. So does that mean Jimmy Dore now gets censored by YouTube or by the internet because he questioned, or he allowed someone else to question 9/11? And does that, more importantly, make the presidential candidate, who at the same time is being accused of being a Russian by people like Hillary Clinton, does that make her now someone that can't speak at a debate? When does that happen? Because she's saying something you don't like, and you're already trying to shut her up at debates. So that's censorship. But anyways, you know, as always, human rights and individuality is what matters. Liberty, fraternity, equality, and equality. Human rights, individuality, liberty, fraternity, equality, equality. These are the things that matter. Those are the things you need to remember, especially in a democratic society, and especially going into election. And as always, don't circumcise your children, and P666.